And that's not a recipe for thoughtful action.
It certainly is not. I'm thinking of my cousin who has to leap through a different hoop every year, it seems like. Let's brainstorm some ideas. Starting off with how we would approach, if we were teachers, let's say a child who isn't really thrilled with science and does cry over those worksheets. Audrey, I'm going to start with you on this one. What would you do to get that child interested in science and math? What would spark her imagination if she's a reader but not a scientist or mathematician?
Use that passion for reading and find ways to merge the two. And there are ways, and I know that sounds like a crossover, but there's lots of like stories about people, like start with stories about people that are really inspiring in the world of mathematics, and then maybe talk about their history, and like just even learning that like the backstory of why we needed it might help drive an interest in creating it or engaging with it. As far as science is concerned, there's so many outlets of ways to demo simple science. Like if you open any cupboard in your kitchen, you have like a cajillion opportunities to demonstrate scientific principles. And I think even those kinds of like tiny moments of discovery and exposure lead to a greater interest in wanting to and understanding the importance of learning even the fundamentals of a lot of these like scary things like math and science, but just learning, how to learn how to love the difficult things.
What are some of the everyday things that kids do where you can't really separate? I love that concept, by the way, that science and art are inseparable in your book, Sylvia, that you can't separate something you love to do from science or math. What would be one of the first things you would tell a child?
I guess I don't really understand
What
the
are
question.
some of the everyday play activities that kids do?
Oh, that already exist.
That already exist, that they're all you're going to do.
I think that even the simple act of sharing and understanding fairness is a good way to start with mathematics. And like you see little kids engaging with like even like divvying things up among each other, especially Legos. Legos are a great way to be like or like kind of like gently guided Lego activities where you start with a big box and you slowly it's like you divvy this many out and stack them this many high, and then like just these like simple ways that we can introduce like combine play and education. And self-discovery with what you have is huge.
Let's also brainstorm how we would reach a child that's really not big into reading, dyslexic, for example, and how do you get that kid involved in schoolwork? So what are some of the ways that you've seen to do something like that?
So in our book, we advocate for a making kind of a stance throughout school, kindergarten all the way up to adults. You start with them doing something. So you don't, if you like to read, then you start with reading. But you could also start with going to visit someplace. I mean, one of the things that you like to do is to take kids on a trip. You walk down the street, you go to a park, you go to a fire station. When you come home, when you come back to school, what do? You build a fire station, you build a fire truck. You see what they know. Kids know things. And one of the things that we talked about in our book is reviving some of the project-based learning approaches that have done very well over the years. One is called project approach. And what they do is they talk about starting with the experience of the child. So and that's also how educational psychologists know that learning happens. It happens inside the brain. You can't deliver learning to kids. They build it on top of their existing experience. So you have to ask them what their experiences are. Do they know what fire trucks are? Do they know what happens when there's a fire? Let's draw it. Let's talk about it. Let's read a book about fires. Let's build fire trucks. And then sometimes kids who aren't good at the schooly parts of school turn out to be really good at building something. It raises their social capital, right? We've got to go see, Sally, who can build these wonderful fire trucks, and we need fire trucks for our fire station, and how are we going to work together? And the math and the understanding of this comes out of the experience rather than the knowledge coming out of us telling kids what to do.
I love that idea of actually relating it to the kids' world, and actually making it work well. What are your thoughts on how do we get more women and girls engaged in science and math? It seems like the Girl Scouts just started a badge recently about robotics, but it seems like girls kind of shy away from that. Audrey, what do you think?
there's something that an instructor told me a long time ago, which she said, make room for everybody. And like, it really is our job to go out and make sure that there is room for everybody. And so, you know, going to things like this and giving them presentations about why we think that this is important and how it's shaped our lives and how we find that still ways to get inspired when, you know, it seems like we hit walls. So just finding a way and finding the community to make room is huge, is a big part of it. And I think, and listening to those communities as you find them and responding to them, and just like any child, a group of people needs to be nurtured in a way that you can get value back out of it and make sure everybody's communicating in a way that provides value to one another.
What's a big project? If you were right now going to be talking to a Girl Scout about something really cool that involves science and math that they won't know is science and math, what would you teach them?
I think, and this is a little bit what we both brought wearable projects, is because it brings electronics close to the body, and I think that's really fascinating because we grow up learning that electricity, for the most part, is dangerous, and then we all of a sudden are like, wait, we're going to touch this conductive thread and this battery, and we're going to handle something and make something light up, and kind of just explaining the principles of like how electricity is magic, and demystifying certain parts of it, but also leaving a lot of the mystery and creativity there is a big interest I find over and over again when I talk to young women creators.
Let's do a shameless plug of what you have on your website for wearables of the young women and women who are young like us too.
Which project? There's a couple. I've got.
I like the bicycle myself.
Oh yeah, the bicycle's a cool project. That was one of the funnest projects I ever made. Basically, I took a bunch of felt and LED strips and made a little microcontroller control panel to control all the colors. So that when you're riding your bike down the street, you were definitely a distraction on the road. It was so fun.
I loved that. And what would you teach the Girl Scouts to make? Let's say that you don't have much time, you don't have much money, and it's going to have to be a really simple project.
Yeah, I think there's some very tiny things that are great gateways to electronics. One of which is conductive thread and these little tiny LEDs, which like, you know, all you need is like a coin cell battery, a little bit of thread, and a little, like, it's a physical project. There's no soldering involved, which I think is still a little intimidating for people just starting out in electronics. And all of a sudden you've created like this very tiny, simple circuit where you understand principles of how batteries work, you understand how light jumps in a LED diode, and all of a sudden you have like a little bit of awareness about the magic in the world, and then you start, this other crazy thing happens, which is after that you start to pay attention to other instances in the world, and that is really when awareness and learning happens.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great way to learn anything. I love that. Sylvia, I was blown away by your saying conductive paint, conductive dough, and I think conductive foil in your book. I wish you'd tell me a little bit about these.
Well, there's a whole upcoming part of technology that almost anything can be conductive. So, you know, there's very simple things that are conductive that we have on our person. Paper clips are conductive, and you know, foil is conductive, but there are new technologies that make other things conductive, like glue and paint. So you could actually paint a circuit. And when you have the ability to make a circuit out of anything, then people make them. They do that. You know, the artists push the boundary of what's possible, and people try new things, and so do kids. So if you put these materials into kids' hands, they will make things you don't expect. And that's the ultimate of a classroom. If you know everything that's going to happen, you're not, you know, the kids really aren't going where they could potentially go. You know, I think that the idea that some of this wearable technology might attract the interest of a different kind of kid is a good thing. You know, you want to have multiple on-ramps to the same kinds of big ideas, because yes, you could build a robot with electronics, or you could build, you know, anything. You could build a nuclear reactor. You could build a car using electronics. But if the skills are the same, so you start out thinking, what do I want? How am I going to get there? What's my design? You start to build it. It doesn't work. You troubleshoot. You start to understand feedback, because nothing ever works the first time, right?
I love it.
Right?
I hate it, but I love it.
But troubleshooting is an extremely important skill
Mhm.
for kids to learn. And there's not a lot of troubleshooting that happens in interesting ways when you're just doing paper and pencil work. It's mostly us telling kids that they're wrong and expecting them to go, okay, I'll try harder next time. That's not how human beings work, right? You want to be rewarded for what you do well. You want to try again. When the materials are so interesting that they're giving you the feedback rather than a teacher, you don't feel like you're being judged, right? If you're making a wearable and you're sewing it and you're working really hard and the LED's not coming on and you have to figure it out, when you figure it out, there's just this euphoria, right? And a teacher doesn't have to stand behind you going, your LED's not on, D+, your LED's on, A. It's like, that almost takes away from the experience.
Yeah.
So anytime we can create experiences where the materials are giving the student the feedback instead of the teacher, it does two things. It's I think, more beneficial for the student. It's also beneficial for the teacher. It takes them out of the judgment role. It lets them be a friend, be someone on the side who can suggest things that aren't viewed with suspicion, right? If a teacher suggests something and you're just thinking, is that going to be on the test? That's not really a helpful suggestion. That's a distraction. So, you know, I think there's so much possible with these materials that gives kids these experiences that we could really change school for a lot of kids.
I would love to see that change. What are the trends that you're seeing right now, and are you seeing it move more towards that, or are you not seeing a change at all?
Not necessarily in schools, but in after-school programs. Maybe that's just what I'm paying attention to more, but like, certainly there's more room for students and young learners to find these opportunities. There's lots of like really great like maker academies and hacker spaces that are opening their doors to all these events, and that is all wonderful. But none of that is happening in the school, and it all still feels very extracurricular. Is that awesome?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think it's easier to do things after school because the structure of school, especially public schools, is so rigid, and people feel like they don't, you know, what would you leave out? You just can't pile more stuff into the day, so what are you going to drop? Which chapter of the math book aren't you going to do? Which science experiment are you not going to do? So teachers, I think, are rightly kind of hesitant to just wholesale throw everything out. But I think that experimentation is what schools should be doing, and there are a lot of schools out there doing it. We're a huge country. You know, one school doing something and no one hears about it. You know, we could have, there are thousands of schools doing these really interesting experiments and we never see them. I mean, people come up to me all the time and say, we've got a, 50-year history of being a progressive project-based learning schools, and we've embraced fabrication and programming, and I'm like, where are you? And it's like, we're in Blue Springs, Missouri, and it's like, well, how did that happen? And well, we just decided. We just said we're tired of the way things are going. The superintendent got on board, the principals are on board, the parents are all on board. It's like, how did you do it? And they said, well, we just did. So there's no magic. There's no secret magic trick. It's people who care getting together and say, we can do something different.
Let's share some of those resources right now. What are some of the schools that are doing that are well-kept secrets that people might want to know about? What are some of the after-school programs or local resources that are really good?
I probably have a bias here because I work for Instructables, but there's lots, and it's also my job to find these communities and resources on the internet and not in public, or not in a physical space. So I think there's two things. Giving young children access to the internet and DIY spaces has to be monitored in really constructive ways, but then also making time to engage in what the kid is finding interesting, like what projects, like there's lots of ways that you can present like a curated group of projects that go off in a lot of different directions, and then it's twofold because it's your responsibility as a parent to oversee that you feel comfortable with your kid doing this, as well as promoting their own self-exploration of all of this like amazing digital content that they want to pursue as their own personal education.
And how do you monitor that? I can hear people and parents saying, oh, young kids on the internet, yikes.
Well, there's this wonderful thing called COPO compliance, where the government holds a lot of these institutions into being basically PG-13. And a lot of these education sites are, if they're not already just geared for children and already curating content in a very specific way, enforce these very open policies saying this is a Be Nice community, and they try and make this a safe space for everybody, for literally everybody. It is self-policing. It is nice in that way. I'm grateful for an internet full of nerds that are very polite to one another, to each other.
That's a nice change, really nice from school days that I remember. Sylvia, what about the schools, the local schools, any kind of school programs that parents may not know about? They're listening right now.
Well, I think you have to go out and find them. So there are definitely people doing things. There are places, especially libraries and librarians, who are embracing this. I think libraries are excellent models of the kind of school where people come in to look to find things that are of interest to them. There's a nice person called a librarian who's been trained to help them find interesting resources and to open the world up that they may not know about. It's cross-curricular, it's cross-grade. There's an opportunity to do a project for a day or a week or a month. So a lot of actual school libraries, I think, are taking on this as part of their mission. At the same time, school libraries are often getting cut. When there's funding problems, the librarian is seen as an extra person. Well, the books can just, we'll have an auto checkout system or something, But I think that librarians feel that this very strongly, and most of the public schools that I see doing Maker have at the heart of it a librarian. Not always, but often. There are places locally like Trash for Teachers, except they've changed their name. What's their name now?
I can't remember.
T for T. Maybe they just went.
I think
with
it's yeah.
I think they just went for T for T. It's a recycling center that also has classes for teachers. So the school can pay like a membership fee, and the teacher can go and collect anything they want out of the bins of beads and cool stuff and cardboard, and they have workshops for kids. They have workshops for teachers. We've used the space, for example, to do professional development, to do workshops for teacher groups, to show teachers how they can do things with very inexpensive materials that are creative and fun. This is happening all over the world. People are asking themselves, do we really understand how children learn? And if we're really paying attention, what would we change about school? And we're not going to accept that it can't be done for an answer. Yes, it's hard, not look impossible, there's a lot of forces against us, but we're going to do it anyway. And that's how change happens.
And that's exciting change, actually. When you look at the schools today, what among the maker culture that they will be teaching do you see as being most important for a future workspace, for future work skills? What would be something that they really ought to teach the kids that's going to make them good members of our future workplace?
Programming.
Yeah, right there with you.
Programming?
Short and sweet.
And what else?
That's it.
That's it.
No.
That's programming.
Maybe modeling, if they're interested in, like, if somebody is really good at spatial awareness at an early age, and there's lots of clear indicators for that, and some students are really good at, like, envisioning something and then making it in front of them, those kids should definitely be exposed to 3D modeling in some capacity.
That would be a fun thing, I would think, for the
So
kids.
let me not be so glib with the one word answer. I think programming